computer's not even gonna. It's not gonna run at all. Okay, we're live. Thanks for coming in, Sarah Gretzinger.
It's good to be here.
We had a rock and roll show in here last night, so we had to do some cleaning up to get.
Oh yeah.
To make it all right for you to come in, and so I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in. Now, for those that don't know who you are, maybe we could spend a little bit of time.
Absolutely.
Starting from the beginning, you were born in a cold, wintry day in 1955.
I was actually born in the summer. I was born in Niagara-on-the-Lake. My family. Oh, yeah. Yes. Good. I'm very quiet, apparently like a mouse.
Come up on that mic.
So born and raised in Niagara-on-the-Lake, moved to St. Catharines when I was 16 and have basically lived there ever since. Moved back to Niagara-on-the-Lake for a while and ended up back in the city. I own an international marketing agency. Most people know me for that and for the Savvy Networker, which is our networking event, which is here in St. Catharines and also in Las Vegas now, which is very cool. And I recently published a book. So I am becoming very well known for my life story.
Wow. And I read the book. Wow. Let's talk about that later. Because I think there's so many different directions you can go with what you covered in that book that are very relevant today. And I don't know you that well. And I always, it's interesting for me to interview people that I don't know that well because you really don't know what makes them tick or where they're coming from. The book, I feel like, gives me a pretty complete insight who you were at one time, probably still are, and how you think and feel about things. Tell me about the first time I meet you was at a networking event, which I don't do much anymore.
And you were doing some kind of cleanse?
And
you looked like hell.
Yeah, I normally do. No, I was just doing protein.
Oh, you were
no
sick
carbs.
Or something. I don't remember.
I had the keto flu is what, and you nailed it. You came up and I think you just happened to be like on the outside of the conversation and then inserted yourself into it by saying, well, I heard something about the flu, so stay away from me. I'm like, no, really, it's the keto flu. Come here. I only just recently started feeling like the shirts that I'm wearing that don't fit properly I need to deal with them. And the way to not deal with those shirts is not to have them taken out by a tailor. It's to get rid of my baby Buddha that I have.
Baby Buddha.
Well, I have a little bit of a paunch or a gut or a Buddha or whatever
you look fine.
But my shirts, they don't look good in my, I only have a few good shirts that fit snugly, let's say. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look good with a little pouch. And it's not big.
You need to get a girdle.
So I decided, and for many other reasons too, energy levels. I've heard all kinds of things about depression and clarity and energy levels, testosterone levels too, apparently going off the charts. Now, I don't suffer from a lack of testosterone. I know that for sure. But I figured I'd give this thing a try. So in January, I went out with a friend of mine and I had my last supper. As a carb eater. And I didn't know that I was going to actually stay true to it, but I did. And
you stuck to it?
No, I have not. Oh. No, I'm off it now. I started again this week, but it's difficult. It takes some discipline.
It's one of those things that you stay true to until you don't, and then you just get to keep starting over.
Oh, yeah.
Like the typical
It's
diet.
just like quitting anything. And I think, I was never present to my sugar addiction until then. So I could go on and on, but they call it the Jim Fannon Show for a reason, but it should be more about my guests. So anyways, I bump into you. I've got the keto flu. I'm dying. Like literally, I had 3 nights of bed sweats, 4 days of a headache, a low-level headache, not a migraine, but it was there. And it was, I shouldn't say low-level. It was a pretty good headache. And then all these aches and pains and cramps. Well, I lost 15 pounds in, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. Just by quitting carbs and sugar.
You should just start hanging around people who have the flu.
I hate people.
You'll drop weight
I don't want. Yeah, no.
Just hang around the sick people.
Hate people. That's why I talk to them on air. So anyway, I got through that after the keto flu lasted about 4 days, I think. And then the benefits were pretty good afterward. But no, so I meet you at a networking event. Again, I don't go to these things anymore because I'm tired of seeing the same people there.
And we were barefoot. It was so weird.
I don't go barefoot anywhere.
But
sock
remember,
foot.
we had to take,
but
we had
it's
to
a
take
yoga
our
studio.
shoes off. And I was so like,
yeah.
everybody knows me. I'm always in high heels. And so they're like, oh, no, take your shoes off. I went, what?
Oh, that had to be difficult, terribly difficult for you. So, yeah, I think I was talking to Steven, and he thinks you're a rock star for whatever reason and introduced you as one, like straight up.
That's good.
And then I had this brain fart where I thought you were someone different. Like I knew the name.
Yeah.
But you're not the person that I think I met 5 or 7 years ago. And didn't we do it? No. And I'm like, did you change your whole look and drop 60 pounds? No.
Definitely
Were you
not.
blonde at once? Yeah, but no, I wasn't that girl. You're thinking of someone else.
Twins.
And I had to go, I don't know, my back was acting up that day. I got out of there. And then, so that's the first time, the first time I remember meeting you.
Yeah.
And then, like, within 7 days, you walk into Beatty's while I'm checking out at the counter and, like, total grubbed out. Like, I mean... Eh? Was it like you wouldn't have recognized me? You would walk right by me. I recognize you because I've seen you dressed up a couple times, and I'm like, oh, hey, there's Sarah. I go, that's like twice in 2 days. It was pretty close.
Yeah.
And then
that was the night of my networking event.
Exactly.
And I was like, go home, change, and come on out.
And I resisted. I said no, or I said I kind of didn't commit. I'm getting a little bit better at saying yes to things that I don't know why.
I didn't really give you a choice, though.
I
said, "Oh, I'll see you at 7." I didn't ask. I just kind of
always options for me. And so how I handle that option is I come home and I text you around 4:30 or whatever it is, or no, it must have been after 5 because I said I can't be there for 5. Like I'm running late, and you're like, good, it's at 7. See you then.
Yeah. That's why I'm the savvy networker.
Like, I am such a loser. I'm trying to get out of this.
No out.
At all cost. I can't even come up with a good lie to give you, someone I barely know, a reason to not come to this another networking event. And then, so I'm glad I came to the second one because the first one, for whatever reason, I think you said you let somebody else take care of handling
they might
or something.
Be watching.
And then
no, it was our staff's
the week after.
First month
again, I'm
over.
resisting this thing, and I'm glad I came. I'm always glad when I come afterwards because, well, Chris Curry was there. I haven't seen him in a long, a big fan of his, and we sat together. And Paul Layton came in, and so I was glad I came. But the room was full, and this is
jam packed.
And
we
this
had
is usually these networking events are things you feel like you have to go to. Because someone's making you go, or your boss wants you to go, or you need to be seen, or you want the free food. That's the guys I kind of want to stay away from. Is the same guys that show up to the same events every time for the finger food.
Yes.
Like, eat before you come. Anyway. So I'm glad I came to the second one because, it was you had a good room of people. And then
it was literally, we ran out of chairs. We had to sneak into the other room and steal some.
That's a great job. And then you do a panel too, right? So you have business people on the panel normally, or
always, every month.
They're all professional people, right?
More or less. No.
Just pull this close.
Most of them, no. Yeah, so we have entrepreneurs from the Niagara region who come out and speak on a different topic every month. Mm-hmm. So it's always marketing related.
Oh, okay. Well, I like it because it wasn't the same people.
Yeah, when they're different speakers, right? Like which makes it...
When you go to, Business After 5 or whatever, and that's where I met you, was at Yoga by Sarah's. And the only reason I was there is because Sarah was being appreciated that day. She's a friend of mine, so I felt like I should support her in that way, and that was fine. But normally I don't go to these things for the reasons I just mentioned, but yours seems to be a little bit different.
Well, ours is Monday, and I expect you to be there. Not negotiable. 7 p.m.
Oh, you're this Monday.
Yeah, this Monday.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, the last one I was at, again, good room, packed. You had a good conversation with the panelists up there, and then you gave away 2 trips to Vegas.
We did.
So
it was crazy, which is probably why the room was so packed.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good reason, yeah.
No, but yeah, so...
well, it's a great promo to get people there, too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we were very fortunate that our sponsors covered all of that for us, and so it was a really great way to, take that money from the sponsors and put it back into the community and allow people to kind of grow their network. So, we were offered an opportunity to host the event every single month in Las Vegas. And so this past month was the first time going. I learned a lot about what to do and what not to do because it was very different, right? There was different people there. None of them really knew who I was. And so, I go in there being my normal bubbly, just say it like it is kind of person. And they're all looking at me like, and who are you? What are you doing here? But no, we had a great turnout there too, so it was good.
What's your business? Like, what do you do?
So we do inbound marketing. So actually, we've literally in the last 2 months have just changed our company structure. So we're a marketing agency. We have 3 departments now. So we have sales, web, and inbound marketing. So we do a lot of social media, content creation, web development.
What's inbound marketing?
Inbound marketing is it's ideally traction marketing. So in the most simplistic way, attraction marketing. Okay. So if you go online right now and you find an article, the article has links that go to different places, which leads you to sign up to something, which puts you on a drip campaign. And so they constantly target you that way with information you want, right? So we give you something, we get something. And so we attract people that way.
And so how do you translate that to Vegas?
I have a lot of clients in Vegas, and so it honestly was kind of very random. I got a call. Someone that I know in Vegas was at a networking event with one of the hotels that I work with there. And the hotel owner heard about it and said, they were talking about me in this event that I do here, and the hotel owner heard about it and got in touch with me and said, I keep hearing about this thing that you're doing, and then watched.
Just the same meeting as you do in St. Catharines?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Obviously different people. And so, we're changing it up a little bit there to suit what they need. Because it's just, there was a lot of insurance brokers there, which, here we have so many different people from so many different businesses. And I was like, half of the room there were insurance brokers. And I was going,
How many people in the room in Vegas?
We had 64 people, wow, which was good for the first time. And
is there is it attracting insurance people, or they just happen to be in town for
I think
a convention
it just,
or
yeah,
something?
I don't know what it was. And I was kind of going, okay. And so it was geared on surviving the first year in business. And so I don't know a whole lot about insurance. And I'm going, okay, what do we talk about now? Mm-hmm. But we made it work, so it was good. So
what's the hook then? What's your value proposition, for lack of a better term? I don't even know where that came from. Must be my sales training somewhere way back. I mean, ideally, need a value proposition.
What we will do is we're offering membership packages, so people can come on like a 3-tiered membership package where they get put on our directory and, get free tickets to the events. We'll do a breakfast event there as well, which will extend the time we're in Vegas. So we'll have networking and then a breakfast and all of that referral, kind of like BNI or something like that. Mm-hmm. Except our events are very different, right? Anyone who's ever been to them, I'm
just going to roll this one eye so no one can see in the camera.
Yeah, roll the one eye.
Like this one, we need another business group, another awards ceremony, and another chamber.
Yeah,
business.
If they're run by me, we need it. but ours is very different, right? Like this month at the Savvy Networker, we're doing live interviews with people who are attending. And instead of just having people walk around the room and network, we actually have a worksheet where people can work out different stuff on their businesses. The panelists are going to help them do it. So they're walking away with that educational component. So they're not just meeting people, they're actually growing their business while we're there because, of course, we're marketing. So we want to make sure we fit that all in.
Savvy Networkers, the event.
Yes.
Savvy Marketing.
Market Savvy & Co. is the company.
Market Savvy & Co.
And Savvy Networkers, the event.
Right on.
And I love my company, but I never want to hear the word savvy again. I'm so sick of it. It's time for a rebrand.
Exactly. I saw the Savvy Mortgage Broker or something up there the other day.
Yeah,
so I'm like, am I just seeing Savvy or is Savvy
everywhere.
becoming popular now?
Yeah, it's becoming very popular. So we started changing things to like SBC, like Savvy Business Club. I'm like, I never want to say Savvy again. So
you must have saw it coming.
Yeah.
What are you personally passionate about? What do you find that it doesn't matter who you're talking to, it's not more than a couple minutes before you're on to?
Honestly, I think it stays with my job because our business motto is people first, business second. And so people know that. It's become sort of our company culture. And so when I talk to people, I'm all about like, who are you? What are you doing? And right away they come back to me with how I can help them, right? Because I put their personality, their family, their all of that stuff as the value. They come to me with like, how can you fix this for me? And so I tend to stay very work focused all of the time, except for when I'm at home with my kids.
You don't find the same type of topics come. I mean, you can't just say work. I mean,
well, now, I mean, a lot of people are shifting focus on talking about my life. My life has kind of been really private. And now I've done this video series on the book, and there's bits and pieces of it out there, and people are like, whoa, didn't see that coming, or holy crap, did she just say that? And so I
wish you'd stop doing all that immediately.
Why?
I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, well, that's a perfect segue then. So we've met before over coffee, I think once, right?
Once.
You're easy to get to know. You kind of wear it on your sleeve type of thing. And I think I'm the same way, too. I'm the same guy. And if I'm selling real estate or MCing or, it doesn't matter. I'm sitting having coffee. I'm just...
Shoot the shit.
Yeah, and I have recently... I'm thirsty for knowledge. And that's trouble because when you find the knowledge, sometimes it doesn't mesh with what you normally believed. And you're in this place of like, well, this is new information that causes me to...
It conflicts with what you...
Yeah, and I'm not used to that. And it's been quite painful because I'm a lefty politically, and I don't want to get into that. But when I see people doing what you're doing, including writing the book, it's got to be emotionally terrifying.
It's been difficult.
Like, why? Tell me that. First of all, you are making yourself far more vulnerable than any of us ever would imagine to be. I wonder, what's the payoff? Is there a personal payoff there? Are you trying to sell a book? Do you want to help people? Like, is it all the things? I don't...
The reason why I started writing it, and this is going to make me sound crazy, the book's coming. So... honestly, there was so much stuff in my life that when people would say to me, oh, do you remember when? I'd be like, no. Was I part of that? Like, that happened? I literally just couldn't even piece it together anymore. I had no timeline of my life. I literally, blacked out of moments. And so I had been trying to, piece together this timeline to try to figure out, where did I live here? Where was I there? Where were my kids when this was happening? And it just sort of started becoming stories, which, of course, turned into the book. And then my 7.5-year-old daughter at the time said, Mommy, how come this happened? And then I went, how do you explain that to a child, right? How did this traumatic thing in my life happen that affected her? And so the book then became a way to tell my children one day, this is why your life was the way it was.
And you write letters to them as well, right?
And so the book has letters to, multiple people, right? But there's letters to the children in the book explaining, this is what I want you to take from this. So that
I thought that the one that letter said to you, I thought that was to me.
No, yeah, dear. Well, there's letters to the reader, and then there's there's a letter that says dear daughter, right? And so there's a letter that says dear son. There's a letter to my ex, dear you. That one's a little intense. A lot of people that have read it were like, wow, that was...
When's the book come out?
The pre-order has already been up, and so that started a couple of weeks ago. The actual book shipment date is Tuesday.
Wow.
Yes.
That's. Do you have other books as well?
I wrote a children's book a few years ago. It's a story about my daughter and I. It's like a kid's bedtime story, so it's just a fun whatever.
Oh, okay.
And the illustrator tried to create the characters to look like my daughter and I. She failed miserably. She was wonderful, but
The artist, you mean?
yeah, we don't look like us. In fact, we look like we're eating mud in one of the images, but it's all good. Yeah, there's like monkeys around us, and we've got like mud in our mouths. It's really weird. But anyways, and then I wrote a book for entrepreneurs. It's a day planner that like incorporates, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, blogs, all of that stuff that, marketers need and people who are running businesses.
So The Glass Ceiling.
Yes.
That's your latest book.
Yes.
And comes out Tuesday next week. And I'm trying to dig back, get a little deeper into the why. Like, you think that, because when I'm reading this, my mind goes instantly to, well, hopefully someone's going to read this and feel like they're not alone, or there'll be something in there. Maybe they're a perpetrator of some of this stuff, and they'll go, oh my, I didn't even realize until I saw it in paper. Or maybe a victim would see it as like, I'm not the only one.
Yeah. So
and there's some helpful not advice, but there's just, you're sharing in such a way that I think that could be helpful for some people. And I kind of can't help but think, well, that's why you write a book like this, because it's not to say, look at me. Nobody wants to be looked at in that way normally.
There's a lot of stuff in there you don't really
No.
want. We did a lot of like re-edit. And
Right.
the editor, Sheena Blake, was amazing. Like,
And you don't...
Go deeper, Sarah. Like, that's not enough. Like,
Okay.
there's not enough there. So the way the book is written, and you read it, and so not a ton of people have read it yet, but it kind of keeps people in the moment. Like, I'm talking to them, like, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling, here's what's happening around me. Like, talking about my son, and so there's a chapter about my son, and I had postpartum depression, and I'm talking about my son being folded up inside the stove.
Oh.
And
I have to go back and read it. And I'm like, okay, wait, did I miss something?
Like,
no. Okay, he's in this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. I'm skipping down to see, like, is this a dream?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, I write it as I'm seeing it. So there's this little tiny body folded up inside the stove, and like I talk about the color of his skin, and and the light on in the stove and all this stuff, and then I jump back to like, that's what my mind saw, but that's not really what was there. So I made a point of having people live in the moment with me so that they could feel, or hopefully feel, all of the stuff that I was feeling, so that it was really relatable. Because oftentimes, we read books and it's a story and you just kind of go, oh yeah. We actually just launched in our video series, I don't know if you've seen them, but To Bold or Not to Bold. So when you're talking about the point of the book, I was very intentional in not really having one, which is odd from a marketing perspective, but I want people to take from it what they will, right? So we had a lot of like text that was bolded, and it kept like going back to like, that's life, like this is life, people just accept it. And I made a point of taking all of that out so that you, the reader, would take from it whatever you saw, as opposed to me trying to direct what you would learn from it, right? So that my experiences would become something that could reach anybody, essentially. And there's a lot of experiences in the book.
Yeah, and I certainly don't question the point.
No,
even just writing the book, if you never published it, it would be tremendously therapeutic to put your ideas down, especially those ones.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there was an aim or a goal or a kind of like, what did you call it earlier when you asked me you should have a projection or
point, right? Like, there should be a point to things. I mean, the point to me personally, on a personal level, and so I've talked about this before, is not a lot of people know this, but I actually gave my daughter away, and like physically 6 months old, like handed her to someone and gave her away. And so being a mom, and most people see me as this like really successful professional who's kind of got it all together and great mom, but not a lot of people know that story. Not a lot of people understand what that was like. And being 9 years old now, she has no idea why. Like, she doesn't even realize that that's what happened. She doesn't understand why she has less time with mommy and more time with daddy. And like why daddy says these things about mommy or why her life was like this. And so that deep rooted for me is that one day she needs to know and understand that. If someone else can learn something from it, great, right? But I want her to grow up one day and have someone essentially go like, your mom's story changed my life, so that her life now has a new purpose, right? It wasn't just mommy handed me away. It was, this happened and there's a bigger picture here. And so hopefully one day that will come across to her in whatever way, you know, the world foresees it to happen.
What do you tell people the book's about, and what can you say about the book without, you know, giving too much of it away? I kind of, even in the promo of having you on, I stayed away from it from the standpoint because I don't know, you know, having an advanced copy before, you know, I'd certainly.
I was like, don't tell anyone.
And I get why, and I'm certainly not able to pick and choose what we can tell. You know, you're talking about the baby in the oven type of thing. So what do you tell people the book is about, or if you were to describe the book to someone, how would you put it?
I mean, most often I tell people it really just is a story of my life, because essentially it's, you know, there's 7 stories in there. They're all different things that I've gone through in life, and they're things that everyone can relate to in some way or another, whether it's the actual traumatic incidents or, you know, how I felt after or how I overcame it or what stuck with me. And I think that's what makes the book very different, is that a lot of people, and I always chuckle, and, you know, so hopefully no one's watching this, but
no one's
watching this part of it, but there's these people who go through like this really traumatic thing, and then I see them on stages and they're like, yeah, my life's incredible. And I'm like, really? Is it like suddenly just poof perfect? Because I went through these things and like pieces of that stuck with me, and they probably will never go away, or they change the way I see the world, and it's not all good. And so I kind of look at it and I go like, I don't understand either. There's something flawed with me and I haven't got there yet, or these people are kind of living in this world where their life is suddenly perfect for the media. And I made a choice to not do that, right? I made a choice to let the story just be like, this is real life, people. And, you know, something bad might happen tomorrow, right? Like I'm getting ready to launch the book and my grandfather passes away, like totally unexpected, but this is life. Like, you live with that, you deal with it, and you just take it as it comes at you.
So book comes out on Tuesday. There seems to be, and you mentioned the postpartum depression, there seems to be some struggles with mental illness or addictions, or, I mean...
Non-addiction. So, in a very honest way, I had postpartum depression, and when I went into the hospital, they do like the quick assessment on you, and like within 50.
Do you know what it is, postpartum? Like, to me, it's just your hormones rage. You have your baby, the hormones change again, and you're left messed up mentally. No,
not quite.
It's not related to hormonal baby.
Yeah, it is. But every woman experiences it in a different way. For most women, the typical postpartum depression experience is, I shouldn't say most women because, you know, obviously don't know every woman out there who's experienced it, but the typical kind of thing that we hear is that, you know, they stay in bed and they cry a lot and they don't have any energy, they don't get up.
It's not much different than normal depression.
Yeah, that was not me. I was hand making Halloween costumes and like taking my daughter. I mean, she had physical illness when she was born, and so we were back and forth to the hospital, and my son was in hockey, and so I was still doing everything. I didn't feel sad, but I kept having hallucinations that, you know, everyone was like, oh, you're just overtired, and I'm going, yeah, that's not right. I'm like, I don't think that normal moms or any moms,
not drug induced or sleep deprived or anything like that, just out of the blue.
Yeah, middle of the day, just
horrific.
Yeah. And so
hallucinations, that's got to throw you.
Yes. And of course there was no real explanation as to what it was, right? So I was diagnosed with everything. I had every mental illness that existed within a matter of 2 weeks, and I'm going, holy shit. Like, how do you absorb all of that? And then of course you go through life and you realize that this was impacting you and that was impacting you, and you were dealing with this and you had all this weight on your shoulders, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I can breathe again. And then you just don't. have a mental illness because you didn't really have one to begin with, right? And so the book kind of talks about, like, again, this is life. Like, you just deal with it as it comes. It's not so... I make it very black and white. And a lot of people will say it's not. And to me, going through all these things, life is very black and white.
So, and then you've made reference to booze and blow a couple times. Was that actual... Were you talking about yourself? And
Yes.
So that is more of a...
So
biographical.
it was a one-time incident in the book that we talk about, and so it kind of keeps going back to the same moment of trying to end my life, and
okay.
Yeah, so
that's right.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's just stay away
from
that.
So that wasn't a regular pattern of yours. That was a deep, dark place that you went to and escaped from. So that's not something you had to overcome. That wasn't. Luckily,
no.
I think I read it as a recurring.
Yeah,
pattern.
I mean, it kind of repeats the same thing over and over because it's meant to draw back to that same moment because that same moment was very, like, defining in my life, right? Mm-hmm. So trying to end your life and living, that was, more of a struggle than anything.
How long did it take you to write the book?
2.5 years. Long time.
How long is the book?
58 pages.
Wow.
I know, when you say it like that, it's kind of like, wow. It was...
Well, I'm glad it's 58 pages because I don't have the widest or longest attention span.
Well...
And I got through yours quite quickly. It had a readable style to it. And I don't say that because I've met you before, or because if it didn't lend itself to readability, then it wouldn't it wouldn't keep me. But there was something about it that kept me reading, and I think it was the ease of just the style that it was written in seemed to be reader friendly, for lack of a better word.
I'm glad that you say that because there was a lot of not argument like in a negative way, but there was a lot of back and forth, like, you need to change the way you wrote this because people aren't going to. I was like, no, this is me, right? Like, I wrote it as if I'm talking right to you, kind of like,
right.
And there's actually parts of it. And I'm like, so if this is what you actually think about life, news flash, like, this is the real world, people. And so I kind of, talk directly to the reader, which I think makes it easier for people to stay engaged in it. Because it's almost like,
cool.
We're going back and forth.
Are you able to segment your life into, we all have this segment when we're kids, and then we realize when we're semi-grown up, and whether that's 10 or grade 10, either or, and then, some people say, okay, well, this is when I became an adult, and this was my married...
6 minutes ago.
This is my married life. This is, life after marriage, life with kids. Like, how many compartments would you put this part of your life into?
I don't even know how I would explain that. I mean, I got pregnant at 18.
Okay.
Had my son at... Well, let's backtrack. I moved out when I was 16.
From your family home?
Yeah, on my own. Moved out on my own. Worked a full-time job. Worked midnights. Went to high school. Overachiever, always. Even in the craziest of times in my life. Got pregnant at 18. Had my son at 19. Got married young. Got divorced 3 months later. Yeah, accident. Had my other daughter, and it's just been like a complete whirlwind ever since. It's almost... And, I've had because of my life, I've had my kids in my life and out of my life, in my life and out of my life. And every time that sort of, it's been settled for a few years now, but every time that would happen, it was like learning to be a mom all over again, right? Because we would all be dealing with different things and overcoming stuff, and there'd be questions, or there'd be, like, there was a period of time my daughter went almost a year not speaking to me, like, as a little tiny, right? Like, 4 years old, like, she barely knew me. So, it was like... My son, like, knew everything about me, and we were really super close, and, like, he was with me and she wasn't, and it was kind of like you could be a really great mom to one, and then the other one needs, like, reprogramming almost. And so
I know what that's like.
It's kind of all been meshed. Like, I would say the last 2 years my life has, like, really just kind of calmed down.
Now, did you say
Fingers crossed.
because of my life, referring to your daughter?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
dig into
mean,
that a
nothing
little
was about her, right? I mean, she didn't do anything because my life has been the way it's been. So,
bit. Can you speak to any of that?
yeah, the book talks about the book and out of the book. There was a lot of stuff actually left out of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was molested. I had a father who was a drug user. I had a mom who was a single
What kind
mom.
of drugs?
All kinds. Lots of cocaine, heroin.
Okay, so
yeah.
I mean, nobody ever says alcohol when they refer to drugs.
Yeah,
you
no,
know what I mean?
not alcohol, actually, which is odd. But
So the heavy ones.
yeah.
The ones that
heavy
ruin
ones.
your life.
So I remember, you know, watching him do drugs as a child. I remember all of that
You
stuff.
catching him, or it was at a point where he didn't care and he did them.
I just think he wasn't aware. There was not like an awareness to it. And so I grew up around that. I mean, I have a brother who, you know, thankfully, both of them are clean and, you know, living good, decent lives. But I grew up with all of that stuff around me. I grew up with an alcoholic grandfather who was an incredible, loving man, but, you know, as long as he was drunk, because that was the only way he knew how to be. And so, you know, I grew up in this kind of crazy childhood and got pregnant young. And so, of course, there's all kinds of different things that come with that. I was sexually assaulted. I used to be an escort, so that was part of my life journey. My grandmother died in my arms while I did CPR. There's just been this like never ending. I always tell people I feel like I've been held underwater to the point that I'm just about to pass out, and then the world kind of like lifted me up and said like, take your breath of air now and let me shove you back down. And so I feel like, but you know, in a very honest way, I feel like that's been my life. Like, okay, let me breathe for 1 second and then let's shove you back down and see how much more you can handle, or if you can hold your breath a little bit longer this time. So my grandmother would always say to me, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. And it's funny because now I always find myself saying that to myself. I'm like, just breathe through this, you'll be fine. So when I look at it in relation to her, you know, trying to explain to a child why her life is the way it is, it's because of the way my life was, which is true for any parent, right?
Mm-hmm. So I want, are you in contact, or do you have, you know, people that you hang around with that have been through the same type of things that you've been through?
No, actually.
Okay.
Not a lot of them.
So did you get any support regarding the assault and that kind of things? Like, I mean, you seem like you're pretty level-headed and well put together.
Oh, I
run a
haven't
business.
always been level-headed.
No, and I
get
get
ahead of
that.
yourself there.
I get that from the book.
Yeah.
But,
Truthfully,
and I think we talked about the masks before, too. We're all really very adept and well-trained at putting the mask on.
yes.
And, I mean, social media is taking that to a whole new level. And I'll give you credit, you know, for it. It makes me uncomfortable. And that's
Sorry.
my baggage.
Yeah.
Like, I look at even those simple videos of you sitting on the couch, and I go, wow.
I was
I
crying,
think-
and I cried through most of that
I think
interview.
part of it is because, like, deep down, I want to be that person, but I just can't avail. I can't make myself available to that much vulnerability. I don't think. Like, I have other things that I do that make me vulnerable, even running in an election or what have you. I mean, you put yourself out of it, out there. You know, you take on the big parties and the big donors, and you take, you know, a few
It's a different
arrows.
kind of vulnerability
Oh,
when you're doing
absolutely.
that, right?
Yeah,
It's,
but you know, and I respect you for doing it. I look at it and I go, ooh, like, that's not me.
in a very honest way, it's been draining. Like, there's all kinds of feelings that come with that, right? Like, I remember when I stood on a stage and told everyone I was an escort, and like jaws dropped and people were like, oh my God, like, your career's over, and like, why would you do that? And, you know, my family to this day has like never spoke about it. They're just like ignoring the fact that I broadcasted that, and it's just not something we talk about in our
It's
family.
obviously not a big secret, especially if you escort in the town you live. I mean,
Well, I didn't, and so
Okay.
that's part of it. But I mean, there was no support with anything, ever. I remember, you know, after I was assaulted, I think it was probably was months before I even saw my mother, and not in a negative to her, but I look at my grandmother and, you know, God rest her soul, but she was not an affectionate person at all. Like, something happens, you just deal with it and you move on. And so, you know, my mother...
just sweep it under the rug.
Well, yeah, and so people kind of have a tendency, you're either exactly like your parents or you're the total opposite. And so my mother and I are polar opposites. She's very, like, here's a to-do list, just go fix your life. And I'm going, but that's not going to work for me. And so I've done most of it on my own, which has probably made the healing process much, much longer and more difficult, but it allowed me to learn a lot of really great lessons.
And how old were you when the assault occurred?
I was 24.
Oh, okay, so you're not a child.
No. Well, I was 12 years old when I was molested.
Oh,
this is the first time I've ever actually talked about this.
Well, and I appreciate it because I want to understand it more than anything. What I'm trying to get to is, and maybe you don't have the answer for this, but I want to know. I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I was assaulted and molested at some point, and it was done. It was over. But I'm a boy. I know we handle things differently, and it wasn't a big deal. Honestly, it wasn't. And I don't feel like it was.
Let me roll my eyes now.
No, but I don't feel like it was. I wasn't bent out of shape. It was stupid. It was pretty fucked up. The guy was drunk. It was a guy, you know, and it was a guy I knew. He was a friend of the family, and I was young. I was like 16, 17. I think that's still pretty young.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I'm only just digging this up lately, I think, because of the climate that we live in, this Me Too type of thing.
I'm so sick of that.
And I have some really strong feelings around a lot of it, some of which I don't think I've given the proper time to think it through and articulate it, because it's a sensitive. I don't ever want someone that was oppressed or taken advantage of to think that I would think that that's okay. But I'm kind of with you. And I mean, so many women that I know are like, would you could fucking shut up, you people.
Yeah. And
you know?
I would say that's necessarily my...
There's all kinds of different elements to it. So but what I'm trying to get to is we all have stuff. Men and women are different about how they handle things.
Yep.
And I wonder what makes you loving and accepting of others or strangers. I mean, you met with me. You didn't know me very well. I mean, we met at Mate. It wasn't a big deal.
I'm like, you said you were having a crap day. I said, come have coffee
I was having a
with
shitty
me.
day, and it was
right?
really
but
cool. And you're like, and again, I've become pretty good at just not asking why, or just saying yes, regardless of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And so you were there, and I took you up on it, and so, but it makes me curious as to, you could go either way with this. You could be a man hater, which you're obviously not.
No.
I see you interacting, and I know it's business, and you got your business mask on, if you want to call it that, and whatnot. But I mean, you can tell the way someone shakes your hand or says hello to you, or when they say goodbye to you, what type of person they are, how warm and inviting and trusting they are. You can do a lot with body language, and
absolutely.
And so I see you as someone that, seems to have accepted what happened. I don't know, moved on in a healthy fashion. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like you could very easily be that girl. I was going to say that guy. That guy that hates on men. That guy that, or the girl that is like, all you see is oppression and feminism and rape culture everywhere. And men are bad because they take advantage of little girls.
Yeah.
Like most men don't do anything like that. That's why I really push back against this idea that we live in a rape culture. We don't live in a rape culture, for crying out loud. Most men don't rape.
It's funny that you say that. I was really criticized for a video that I did. Like, I was like woman shamed from other women because... I started writing and I started talking about writing and I started talking about the book, and all these people were like, oh yeah, go feminism. And I'm like, no, that's not me. Like, it's not, I look at men, I look at women, and if you're a woman and you wanted to fight for equality, then be an equal. Like, I'm not going to put you on a pedestal because you're a woman and then bring a man down because they're a man. I've met men that are shitty, and I've met women that are shitty, right? Like, you meet people and everyone's got different qualities and everyone's got different things. And so I don't really take a side on that. And despite my life and my relationship with, men and things that they've done to me, I could meet you on the street. Should I assume you're bad right away? No. Right? I did a video where, I was interviewing someone and they were accused of sexual assault. And I kind of said, so what? Like, and not so what to degrade that, but if you're a person and you do something wrong and you do whatever you can to make it right, should we hold that against you for the rest of your life? No. And I can say that because I've done really horrible things. And would I want people to hate me for the rest of my life and hold it against me and never forgive me? No. So I've projected that out into people. And so I feel like I can kind of close that barrier. And the other thing is that in my past life as an escort, I walked into different things all the time and I never knew what I was going into. Most of the time it was fine, but it wasn't always fine. And so I meet people and I just kind of accept them and go, okay, this is going to be what it's going to be, and we just deal with it as it comes. And so I've kind of tried to stray away from letting my past life experiences change who I am today, which has not been easy, but it took time.
Well, it's a lot to manage. I mean, just knowing that little part of the book, which I imagine is a very small piece of your life, even though it depends on how you measure it and what metrics you use. But that's not your whole life. That little story there.
No,
that little story. I don't want to belittle it, but and you talked about doing horrible things. I kind of feel like
don't make me say that.
We've forgotten. Maybe some of us don't know the depths that we are willing to sink to.
I've done some really terrible things.
Yeah, and I think most of us don't think that we're that person. And until you can say, I'm a filthy monster who has a proclivity to do horrible things to themselves and to other people, with no regard for any of the consequences. And I'm sane. I'm not drunk. I'm not drug-induced. I'm talking about
you're just a person, and you do things wrong, or you do things
you do out of anger
wrong that you know are wrong. I mean, I've done things wrong that I knew were wrong, and then, you kind of step back one day and go like, oh, but should that be held against you forever? I don't think so. I mean, there are people out there who, serial killers and whatever. Do you forgive them and put a smile on your face? No. But do you hope that, they can find something good in their life or find a way to fix anything that they've done, or at least find a way to be happy with themselves because they're still living and they still have to be part of this earth, and maybe one day they can give something good back, if anything? I would want that. I mean, I wouldn't want horrible people just walking around hating each other. It's not me. It's not who I am.
Do you have a faith?
Yeah.
You believe in a higher power?
I do.
Like a God or an oversoul or something that you pray to and say, get me out of this?
I'm sure God's frequently looking down at me going like, seriously?
Are you trying to catch this chip today?
Are you asking me for that now after you just this? But that's the thing, right? I'm human, and like everyone is human, and I'm not ever going to try to be perfect. I mean, I don't want to be.
And so how has that played a role in all of this? I mean, we've never spoken about this before, and so I'm surprised to hear that you have that at all. I don't know why. I mean, we've never discussed it.
About my faith?
Yeah.
How has it played a role?
I mean, because as humans, I think the faith element seems to come in when we're just absolutely broken to our knees. I know, and I've learned to say thank you in celebration, because many times I don't give thanks. I'm just like, dude, can you help me here? I'm struggling. And I think if you have a faith, that's like the bottom line is you go when you're broken and you have no other recourse.
Yeah. It's funny because when I'm at like my worst moments in life, there's two things that go through my head now. One, just breathe. And two, I count. I don't think about anything. And Because when I'm not okay, I'm like a ticking time bomb. And so I think I've talked about it before on camera several times. I'll just like pick a number and I'll go like 30, 28, 26, 24, 22, 20. And then I'll reverse it and I'll try to go the opposite way, because it's when you're in that state of mind, it's really hard to focus on the numbers to get the next right number. So I don't even go to faith. And it's a strange thing because that's typical for people. But I find I go to faith when somebody comes to me and says, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me? That's when I go to it. I'm like, God, I don't have anything left to give. Like, I've got nothing for this person right now. Like, give me something to give to them. Like, give me, 5 more minutes of patience, because this person needs it more than I need it right now. And it's not typical, I don't think, for people to do that. But given the life I've lived, I'm really big on, like, supporting other people, right?
Yeah, I guess you'd have to be. And
yeah.
You also, it's, pretty evident to me that you must be a forgiving soul as well. I mean, otherwise
forgiveness
you'd be a hate-filled
not
monster.
An easy thing for me.
You can tell when you roll up on someone and they're full of hate.
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
much
not.
like this.
I'm not at
Right.
all. I think I learned that. Well, I've really learned it from my kids, actually. I mean, I look at them and all this craziness that's happened around them, and I remember, like, that sweet, innocent soul that I used to be, like, way back when, before my life turned out to be so horrific and traumatic and all these things happening, and I'm like, just be that person.
So what age did that end? 10?
12.
11? 12. Okay,
12.
so it was an event.
Yeah.
You
Well,
really
that's the first
see
thing
that
I
as
remember.
you see that moment in time as like the end of your innocence.
Yes. I think when someone takes something from you,
I can't
like
imagine.
from your soul, and you're that young and you don't know how to process it, you don't know what to do with it, then it's just kind of gone. It's like part of you is gone. Like, I talk about that a lot, right? Like, there's, I met this person, they came in my life and they took this, and that's gone and it's changed. I'm not that person anymore, but what do I fill it with, right? What do I replace that with? There's like a giant hole in my heart, and now I can stick something else there. What's it going to be? Is it going to be another person? Is it going to be a better character trait? Is it going to be like a new hobby? Or is it, what do I put there? I can put anything there.
Drug, food,
yeah.
sugar.
Food I should try.
Sugar!
I should, yeah. Speaking of sugar.
Put sugar in my hole!
I brought something for you. Speaking of sugar. I have actually have a gift
I'm
for
carb
you.
free, baby. What's this?
So, I've been really busy.
Is it a puppy?
Yeah. in a bag.
Is it drugs?
It's a squash dog. But I've been so busy with the Savvy Networker in Vegas and work and kids.
Yeah,
driving
you have
kids
been
around
busy.
like I'm a
and
taxi
I gotta
driver.
Say, you pull people in quickly by responding quickly, but then you go to this mode where you're like, I'm too busy to get back to you. I'll get back to you when I feel like it.
I have a really amazing new assistant who's been, it's so hard. Actually, I'm going to quickly, before we open this.
Pardon me?
I had like a total.
We have to turn the cameras off before we open this?
No,
Is that
no,
what you
no.
said?
I'm just going to
You know I hate surprises. You only know that because I just told you.
Yeah, but this is fun.
Before we went
this
rolling.
is like super fun. So I had this moment.
I'm not good opening gifts. I won't react the way you want me to.
I'll open it and hand it to you.
No,
It's
I
not
don't
a
mean.
gift. We're
I
gonna
don't
do
mean
it.
physically opening the
We're
gift.
going to do it.
I mean, when people give me gifts, they're always disappointed with my reaction.
It's, oh my gosh, I had a
I'm one of
boyfriend
those
buy me
people.
a diamond bracelet, and I opened it and I went, oh. I'm like, why did you buy me that?
Don't
like,
take my reaction from me now. I was banking on
Yeah.
Now
what's
that just doesn't seem like I can
I'm
use
not,
that.
I don't like jewelry. I'm not.
And for anyone else that's watch for the two people that'll watch this over the next month and a half, yes, if you're on the show, you shall bring gifts.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
Now that we got that
let's
straight.
open it.
All right. Is this the end
So
of the
I
show?
haven't had a lot of time with my kids lately, and so I was forgetting what it was like to be like a weird, silly, fun mom. So we're gonna do this together. Because I need to go back.
You're gonna make me sing?
I need to go back to. You're like, what the hell's in the book?
This is weird.
I bookmarked it.
Oh. What the?
Okay, you have to hold it in front of the camera. It's a Wreck-It journal. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of a fuck it journal.
Okay,
you know what the fuck it journal is? A fuck it journal is where you throw it over there and you say, fuck that journal. I'm not writing anything.
I'm waiting for like the to come out and change it to fuck it. Okay, so you're going to pick.
Thank you.
No, we're going to do this.
No, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
the gift. I'm sure it's nice. I don't know anything.
So you're going to pick. Wait, you need the rest of the stuff in the bag. You're going to pick one of these.
A which? Okay.
And you're going to do it, and then I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to do it.
Fizz. you couldn't find Pop Rocks?
Well, no.
Woman.
But you can't read it first, so you just have to pick one.
What, I have to pick one of these?
Yeah.
Oh, this is weird. You know I'm going to pick the third one. Oh, no. Okay, so open it. I can't read it?
Yeah, you can read it.
Oh, you said, okay, so.
So what does it say?
It says sell this page. You want to buy it?
No, page? So now you got to try to sell this page since we're on Facebook Live.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. I hate this game.
So, I don't know if you can see this. Hold on. There.
Pimp this page, it
says sell this page. So, before we get off of here, you need to sell this. Okay,
can you give me one of these things on the bottom of it?
Then I'll be able to sell it. This is my author's signature.
Because nobody wants anything.
There.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, Jim Fannon touched this at one time, or Sarah Gretzinger put her freaking lips on it.
Who wants to buy this? We'll donate the money to
Hospice Niagara.
Yeah, Hospice Niagara. So put your dollar number there, and you can pick it up Monday at the Savvy Networker. We'll each sign it.
Fizz.
Okay, now I'm gonna pick one.
This is fun now. Sell this page. Whose book is this?
Well, it was my kids, but. Oh. So trace your toes.
I hate toes.
I'm going to trace my toes.
Oh, no. You mean you have to take your socks off?
I'm going to take my socks off.
This is not how I envisioned this going. Understand? And this is...
I have really ugly...
This is getting far too...
Ugly toes.
Weird.
Can I...
And intimate. Yeah, don't keep them to yourself. I don't want to see them.
Oh, maybe we should make you trace them. Maybe you should trace them.
I'm kidding. I can handle toes.
Will you frame this and put it on your...
I don't know about this. This is... I did not see this interview going this way.
There.
Okay, so that's tracing your foot. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so you take the next one.
Okay.
I bookmarked 4 of them.
Oh, I hope it doesn't say trace your... Oh, forget it. Cover 4 quarters with your... Connect the dots from memory. What's that mean?
You have to look at the page and then close your eyes and connect the dots.
Oh.
What kind of kid are you? See, we're going back to being kids.
I'm not a very good kid. I can't do this. Connect the dots from memory.
No cheating.
I've got my own I can't.
Here, I'll hold the book.
Okay, there you go. Well, now...
Now you don't even know where the book is.
They're both the same, aren't they? Like this?
You have to connect all the dots.
That dot's all connected. 1,
Yeah,
2,
but-
3. Oh, connect all the dots. Oh, for fuck's sake,
Okay,
see?
you totally flunked this.
I think I won.
No,
I think I
you
won. This game sucks. I like this marker, though.
It's a great marker. This one says, tongue painting. Eat some colorful
I can
candy
tongue paint.
And lick this
This
page.
I can do.
Okay,
We've
so,
rehearsed this, you know.
okay, you do this one. I even brought you candy.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Eat some candy, lick the page. Oh, for fuck's sakes. I'm going to eat the candy, but it's flesh colored. It's not going to come out.
Okay, go do red.
This is not the Fizz that I remember.
This is actually from Halloween last year.
I'm off sugar, did I tell you that?
Actually 2 years ago. There, that one's green in a red wrapper. Imagine that. I think they got it wrong.
I have to wait for the Fizz.
Okay, so when your tongue goes orange, you need to lick it.
All right, and then that's that for that.
That's that. You can do the rest of it later. You can change it to fuck it, toss it.
Okay.
I want my marker back, though.
That's your burger?
Yeah.
I was just saying, that's the only thing I like about it.
Shut up.
Can't talk with this in my mouth. Is that it? Are we done? We want to roll some more?
It's entirely up to you.
I think you distracted me.
I'm sorry.
Completely.
It was well worth it. I wonder how much our page sold for.
Well, not a lot, I'm sure. How you launching the book? You doing a party or an event?
No.
All right. On to the next question. Oh, I wanted to ask you, I think we've established that you have a forgiveness trait inside you.
Yep.
That you can't teach. You've got that or you don't have it. Did you learn that, or you think that's just the way you are?
Truthfully, I think that you learn it.
Really? Okay.
I don't
surprised
think that
to hear
people...
that.
I mean,
You're
I
right.
think that, like...
Forgiveness takes a lot of work, and
when
it doesn't
we're-
come naturally.
Yeah, I think that when we're young, like, I always tell my kid, oh, you should forgive your sister for that, right? But what does that really mean, right? Like, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just words. I think that real forgiveness with real life stuff comes from a deeper understanding of what you want out of your own life, not what you want for the other person. I think that if I do something to you right now, you're going to carry your own weight from that, and so am I. And so the real forgiveness comes with, if I can forgive myself, then I deserve to ask you for forgiveness. If I can't own up to my own stuff, then what right do I have? And I learned that.
Okay.
I learned
Yeah,
that.
I think you're right. I think, some things come to us as, like I don't think you can be taught some things. And
I don't know how you teach someone that. Like, you can teach someone to try to look at something differently, right? In which case they may, make a choice to see it from a different way. But I don't think you can't force anyone to feel anything.
And I'm sorry I misrepresented when I said addictions, because I thought that was a recurring theme,
I would
like the
love to be
blackout and the
addicted to
days
something.
and the coke and the booze and that image of the bottle of vodka and the cocaine dust on the thing. I mean, that kept recurring for me. So, and I thought I didn't get that you were doing that as a demonstration. Because I see you often post about drinking wine. So that's not
What
an
girl
issue.
doesn't?
That's not an issue for you.
No.
Or-
I'm like a one glass of wine and call it a night. I'm not a big drinker, right? I grew up in a family of alcoholics and drug users, and so for me it's like red flag, and it's just not worth it.
So you very easily could have been an alcoholic just like the rest of your family, but I think it's one or the other. Either you fall in line and you
Black and white.
what do you call it?
You either are or you aren't, right?
Yeah.
That's
Or
what
you
I
say, no, I'm never going to be that guy.
Yeah.
And you're the exact opposite
No, I have no
because
interest.
of
Yeah.
the abuse.
Actually, I was with someone the other day, and I said, gosh, I could use a drink right now. And I was literally in the parking lot of the liquor store, and I was like, I'm too lazy to get it out of the car. Like, I'm just going to go home. And they're like, seriously? I said, I literally could never be an alcoholic. I'm far too lazy for it. I just don't have the drive for that. No. But, no, I mean, there's that other component to it, too, that people go through something in life, and then it brings out this drinking rage or this substance abuse or whatever else it might be, right? Some people turn to sex, and, some people turn to different things as a way of therapeutically coping with something.
Right. And, I mean, it's all about coping.
Yes.
I mean, when you have traumatic things, and even if they're not traumatic, I mean, this is all about adjusting our expectations and yeah,
People
coping's such a
expect
great word.
so
You know what I mean?
much from the world. Like, people expect way too much. I just find all the time, even me, and I was talking to someone about this morning, like, we do social media marketing, and we have a client, and we do, 4 Facebook posts a month, and they pay us $100, which is pretty great, takes me.
I wish I got $25 a post for my social.
Yeah, but right. And so, like,
social media sickness.
you know, we ended up letting the client go. You know, you fire your own client because they would call me like daily. Can you this? Can you that? Can we talk about this? I'm like, you pay me $100. What do you expect? Like, you don't own me, right? But it's funny because the world sort of perceives that, you know, if I do this for you, then you're going to do all this for me, and it's never ending. And I think there's a really big misrepresentation on what people's roles are in other people's lives and what we're really meant to do for people. It's kind of sad. It really is.
Did you have to experience, obviously, I don't know this, that's why I'm asking, managing guilt from some of these traumatic things?
I still have a lot of it. And that's why I talk, you know, I just finished saying, right? There are parts of life that stay with you. I don't know, some of the guilt I have, I don't know if it will ever leave. I don't know if I want it to, which is a really strange, and you know, some people might say it's unhealthy, but I always tell people, and it's funny that you mentioned, like, I'm like really engaged and then I kind of pull back. And when I'm really engaged is when I'm feeding off of all of that stuff that's still inside me. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me going. It's a reminder, like,
the unhealthy.
Yeah,
stuff?
I kind of go like, I don't ever want to be that person again. So let me use it to be something good. And then, you know, people expect so much from you that you kind of tire yourself out. And then I kind of pull back and then I dig deep in and I find all that crap and I use it and I go out and do all these really great things. And it's sort of just maybe unhealthy cycle, but it works. And I don't know. I think that having guilt towards some of the stuff I've done is because I haven't been able to ask for forgiveness, or I haven't forgiven myself, and that's normal. I don't want to forgive myself for something just to be like, oh, I'm guilt-free today. You know, it's not.
I was thinking more about the guilt of the things that you're really not responsible for. I think we carry guilt.
No, and that comes with forgiving them.
Okay.
Like I remember after I was assaulted, learning that.
This is at 24?
Yeah, that the two men that assaulted me both had children. So when I did the court case, I did it through a third party, and so they send, you know, a trauma worker.
This is in the book.
Yeah.
They were both in the book. The 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And the 24-year-old experience were both in the book.
Yes. See, it's so much.
Yeah.
How do you absorb it all?
You know what? It's weird because it's almost like I read fiction. That stuff was maybe so hard for me to read.
I wrote that, like most of you, most people go through one or two traumas.
You were looking for your friend. You showed up to the hotel, knocked on it. Like, I cannot even begin to put myself in your position of that. I mean, I've been drunk. I've been, you know, all that kind of stuff. But, like, I can't even. That is like a movie to me. That is like fiction. It's somebody.
But it happens. It happens all the time, right? Like things like that happen.
Now, what do you think makes you different from somebody else that goes out and hates men for the rest of their lives? You very easily could be the bitter
I don't
man.
know. I mean, I remember.
That was a horrific story. And, you know, I don't want you to go into it now.
No,
because
it's fine.
Difficult. But, I mean, you need a reason for people to read the book, I think. But, you know.
No, and this is actually not even related. But when we're talking about forgiveness and how I cannot hate men, when the counselor came back to me after going to court and doing the trial and all of that stuff, and we would have all these conferences and, you know, that, and she kind of like let it slip that one of the men had 2 children. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, those 2 children are going to grow up without their father. I mean, that was my...
Good.
But that was my guilt, because I look at my father who would, you know, do drugs and jump off balconies and batshit crazy when he was using, and I still loved him. Right? Even in his worst moments, he was my father. He is part of my life. And, you know, he's clean and he's got his life together now and he's an amazing man. And should I hate him forever for that? Should he have been taken away from me for that? Yes. But did that do something to me as a child? Absolutely. Not having my father did probably just as much damage as it would have having him. right? Because it changes you in a different way. So I remember everybody being like, I don't know how you're not so mad, you're not so angry. And I just kept thinking about these little kids who had no dad suddenly. And being a mom, like I could relate to that. And being a child who grew up without her father, that was where my attention went, right? Like, I want to think about these people who are also affected and not me. And the other thing was I kept saying, and I wrote it in the book, like, I'm grateful it was me. I really am. And that was a hard thing to come to terms with. But had some other girl walked in there, had it been someone else, she might not have survived that. She might not have had the same will and the same stuff and been through all kinds of things prior to that moment that led her to a point where she could, I mean, I didn't pick up my life like this and just be like, oh, yay, let's like go save the world or whatever. But she may not have been able to have the same life that I have now had that happened to her. She may not have survived it. And so I'm grateful that it was me and not someone else, because you don't know what someone else would have taken from that.
I can't imagine ever saying I wish it was me, unless it was to protect my children, which I don't have.
I know everyone says like you've got a really weird, like twisted way of thinking about things, and it's
you
true.
Hear that a lot?
But I mean, I've been through a lot of trauma, and so that is my coping. That's how I overcame it. That's how I, broke through the glass ceiling, is that I found a different way to look at it. I found a way to be thankful instead of hate. Because why do I want to hate every single man out there because of something
because they're all rapists.
Well, yeah, right? Because of something that two people did, or something that happened to me when I was a child, or something that might happen to me. There's all these women out there and they're always going, and men too, oh, this might happen. And I'm like, okay, like, do we stop living now because this might happen? Do we preconceive to hate someone or dislike someone or distrust someone because of what might happen? I don't know. I don't want to live like that. It feels like a lot of weight just trying to absorb what that would feel like.
Wow, that takes a deep level of character, I think, to be able to forgive and to not, like, are you okay? Like, do you have any? Seriously, how can you not? I
said to my staff,
hang up. If
I tell people, if you ask me how I am at work, you're fired. I'm like, stop asking. You know what?
I don't mean that in a
no, I know, but you get tired of it.
Maybe it is patronizing, but I can't imagine, male or female, man or woman, going through half of what. Well, I mean, we all go through stuff. But then to live a normal life afterwards,
but there's no,
like sexually.
Normal's just a setting on the dryer, right? It really is. Like, what the heck defines normal anymore?
We have hang-ups. We carry baggage with us, like from things that happened to us when we were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. That at 30, 40, 50 years old, we're still making decisions about our life that because we stepped on a bee beside the sprinkler in our favorite place to be. I use that as an example because, that story about the kid that steps on the bee while he's in his happy place running through the sprinkler in his own front yard.
It's not his happy place anymore.
Yeah, it can't be anymore.
That's a choice.
It's destroyed now because all you remember is there was something really wrong. My leg was on fire. I don't know. I'm bad. It's my fault.
I wouldn't see it that way.
And then we go and we wear slippers in the yard for the rest of our lives. We're 60-year-old and we won't walk barefoot on the grass. While we're running through the sprinkler at 60 years old because we might get stung by a bee, and we
need to put you through some more trauma and make you more resilient.
Oh no, I've had my share of trauma, but I've nearly killed myself many times.
But you're still here, and you still have a good life, right?
Dude, accidents. People should not sign into my Gmail or their Gmail at my house. I'm just saying.
Should we read their stuff?
No, but we should drop their album on them 2 weeks before it comes out. That would be a good idea.
No,
G Sharp Yahia. He was in here the other day and he signed into my computer on his Gmail, and don't you know, he left it open, or he left his code in there or something. And there's his new album. He told me last night when I interviewed him I should have leaked it. Maybe I should leak it right now.
Maybe that was intentional.
Maybe. I don't think you answered the question of what you're doing for the release.
I'm not. We were going to do a book release, but really and truly, I've got the event Monday. I'm doing the 10-day video series. I'm going to Vegas. You know, there's just so many. I'm teaching a court. Like, there's just so much happening right now that I think when I get back, I'm going to Ireland for a month. So I think when I come back, then I will focus more on that. I wasn't really ready for
court? You say, oh no.
No, I'll focus on that when I get back.
No, but what is that?
The book launch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wasn't ready for the amount of attention that it would bring. Like, it's...
The book?
Yeah.
And what's the 10 days promoting the book?
I did an interview series, and so we broke it down into segments, so it wasn't quite so long. And so there's 10 different components of, like, the writing process and who it affected and how it affected them and what it was really like to, you know, dig deep into all of that stuff and relive it and relive it and relive it and relive it, because the editing process was, like, long, very long. Going over it and over it and over it and talking about it and having to read it out loud. You know, it's different when you write something and then when you say it, you're like, oh, there's something there still.
We did an interesting experiment and a course called the Landmark Forum. I think it was...
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the advanced course. And they get you to work on a problem. And you have to write extensively about this problem. And so for most people, it's something right up in front of them every day that they see that they're having a hard time adjusting to or working through or accepting or what have you. And it just hit me when you were saying this, and I'm not comparing the two, but it was a really cool exercise from the standpoint that you write this thing down and then they say, now, I need you to expand on it and expand and expand. And you write and keep writing and write and write and write and write. And at some point they go, okay, are you exhausted?
Oh, yeah.
Have you invented every impact that could possibly, be an effect of this issue? And then they have you read it out loud to a partner. So you're sitting one-on-one, just similar to this, with the chairs facing this way, but closer. You have to read it.
Yep.
You have to read it verbatim, like as it's written. And then it's...
I think that's when it hits you, once you say it out loud.
Uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's not... it's a challenging exercise, but most of them are, especially in advanced course. They've got the fear exercise, all that.
We hope that the advanced course challenges you a
the
little
one
bit.
where you stand this close to someone and you have to stare them in the eyes, like you have to make eye contact for something like 7 minutes or something ridiculous. Like, it's spooky hard.
See, that stuff
Crazy.
doesn't, I don't know what it is. That stuff doesn't even
And I had this
me.
black guy with hazel eyes. If the devil had a face, he would he was a sweet guy, Desmond. I remember his name to this day. And I should look him back up. Anyways, that you read this thing and then they tell you to read it again. It's your story, it's your words, it's your impact, and it's all supposedly true until you read it 10 times out loud to your partner.
Yeah.
And then you look at the words on the page and they're not even recognizable from a handwriting standpoint. Forget the words that now mean nothing.
Exactly.
And now you can't get through it without busting out in laughter, because it's now comedy that someone could actually believe this stuff was true. And that's your shit. It's your story. But and I don't know why the process turns it into something that seems so meaningless when that thing is that's the sole issue of your life. But when you expand and expand and expand and expand and expand until you can't expand anymore, and then you read it out loud over and over and over, suddenly you're left with, I'm full of shit. I'm not saying you are.
Well, it gives it a different shape, right? I mean, I think
I don't know
that's
what
the
the exercise. I
acceptance
don't know
part.
how it works. Yeah.
But that's the acceptance part, right? You have to, so like I just said, you have to look at it in a different way. And then it becomes, you know, I was able to focus on the fact that it wasn't someone else who was assaulted and that those kids would have no dad. I wasn't focused on what happened to me. I was focused on what can I do now? What can I make better now? What can I do next? And so that process comes from reliving it in your mind over and over and over and over and over and over till you're like, oh my God, this is exhausting. I don't want it anymore. I'm really big on that. Like, people will say stuff to me and I'll kind of go, I don't want that information. Like, I don't want to know that. And like, goodbye. Right? If I don't need it and it's not of value to me or to them or to someone else, I don't like make a point. I know it's like still mentally in there, but I don't make a point of attaching to it anyway. It's just like gone.
What's
it's a coping strategy.
Amen. What's the next book? Because you don't seem like someone that's going to quit here.
No.
You're just getting rolling. Because this was a very painful process for you, right? It took a long time.
Yep.
And especially at the end, I think, only because I've kind of watched you at the end. Only because
There's been a lot of tears
it's weird
lately.
it's weird how after you meet someone and you're like, oh, you're that person? Then they start coming up at the top of your feed all the time. You're like, hey, how come I never noticed this person before? And now they're there every day. So, yeah, I saw you on the couch. I see you on a bed.
That's
doing
the
this
video
the 10-day
series.
thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure that I'm clear that this was a tremendously difficult process for you. Would you do it again?
Well, I am doing it again.
Here we go. So you're just a glutton for punishment.
Right, yeah. I mean, a lot of it is still really hard, right? The more you talk about it, you kind of come desensitized to it almost in a way that it becomes a tool. And so, someone will take from this conversation right now what they need to hear right now, hopefully. But the next book is about my life as an escort. So it's called Behind Closed Doors.
Oh, geez.
And what that really was like. I mean, there's like this persona of like the pretty woman.
I got to stop you. Are you crazy?
No.
What? Why do you... Okay, so first thing, you think you're going to make money off this?
Probably. People are pretty interested in it.
Okay, well, that's a good reason. Do you think that you're actually going to reach someone where they're really going to have this moment of like, thank you, God, for you. You changed my life?
I get that quite often as it is. The
Well,
second
those are
book
two
will be
really
very
great
different,
reasons.
right?
So you're independently confident.
Independent. It really doesn't
Beyond
sound
measure.
insult.
Really?
So the second book is very different, like very different than the first book.
I can imagine.
I actually went through my old like work phone, and so yeah. I can't believe we're talking about this. I can't believe I would ever talk about this, but I went through my old work phone and I screenshot conversations. So like as men would book time with me, like all the things that they would say to me and like the responses I would have back. And so then the story, I guess, is like the reality of like what I was really thinking or feeling, or like if you said to me right now, like as a client in that world, like, oh, you're so sexy. And I'd be like, oh yeah, you're so whatever. And in my head, I'd be thinking like, oh my God,
thank God
I just
he
want
paid
you
me
to
for
fucking
that.
fall down the stairs and die. Right? Like that's not what how the book is written, so to speak. But that was the reality, that you change your mentality to suit someone else. Right? So I would constantly change who I was. Did you want my nails painted this color? Did you want me to dress this way? Do you want my hair changed this way? Do you want me to talk to you like this? And so I was constantly changing, right? But if you look at my profession now in marketing, there are a lot of marketing agencies that are just, travel and tourism or just real estate or just whatever. And ours is a collaboration of everything. And so I can adapt like this, right? I can go from this client to this client to this client to this client to this client and be very aware of all the different components of it and all the different strategies and all the different ways of talking to people in that field. And it all comes from that lifestyle. I learned how to do that there. And so those conversations that I would have with people and what I was really thinking and feeling, it sort of relates into my entire world now. And so it's made me extremely successful in a very different way, obviously, which never would have been expected. But the book it's not like a sad, I mean, there's some parts of it that are really, really, really dark. But again, it's like, what do we learn from this? So it will be interesting.
Now,
difficult to write still. Absolutely, but
well, you must have a gift for it, or a really good editor, because I think that's something else. Like, I try to write, it takes me a long time to put things down in a readable fashion. Like, they're readable for me, but they're not easily readable for other people, I don't think. The title, you know, there must be some sort of contradiction there, because as soon as I heard the glass ceiling, I think of, you know, well, what I was originally introduced to the glass ceiling of is like women or minorities push and push and push, but they can't break through this. It's like the glass ceiling. It's not visible, but it's almost like you can't catch a break. You can't reach your full potential because you're oppressed.
The glass ceiling is kind of more defined as like it's an invisible barrier, right? And so either the world places it on us, our perception that the world places it on us, or a situation does, or a circumstance, or our own self-image of ourselves kind of becomes that glass around us, and how do you break through it? And so in my story, there's this constant like revolving thing of, oh my God, like this is happening now, and how do we overcome this? And then how it shaped me as a person. Mm-hmm. But the difference in it and in a lot of books is that it doesn't just say like, oh yeah, we went on to live happily ever after, and like the grass is suddenly green and there's flowers blooming everywhere and like life is so peachy, because it's not, right? You keep breaking through it, and that's the reality of life, is that you have to keep overcoming things. You can't just push and push and push and then, you know, suddenly life be perfect and happy.
Well, thank you for the time. That's an hour and a half. That's how fast that goes.
That goes fast.
An hour and 37 minutes. We came in at 2 o'clock. We started on time, didn't we? Virtually.
Yes. Wink, wink.
We were late because the guest was late. It had nothing to do with the host,
I was entirely
the network,
on time,
or any of the technology that we use. Everything just works perfectly. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. Tell the peeps, and this will be podcast and it'll be up on YouTube later too. So we get a little spike from the original Facebook Live, and we had some viewers come in. But just let people know. Oh, Paul Layton, shocking.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul. We had a few people come in. Oh, cool. Thanks to Phil Lococo. Thanks to the both of you. Interesting, engaging, entertained. Quite the roller coaster interview.
We'll take that as a positive.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't talked to. How do we get a hold of you? Where do we need to be? Apparently I have a date for next Monday. Let me see if I can get myself out of that somehow.
No.
Google, tell me I'm busy.
I'm going to show up at your door.
The 8th of April? Is that what we're talking about?
It's the 9th. April 9th, Johnny Rocco's.
Oh, April 9th. I'm
7
so
o'clock.
busy that day.
Oh, I know. At the Savvy
April
Networker.
9th, I got David Barrick on the show. But it's at 1 o'clock.
Oh, well, there you go. You and David Barrick can come together. You
know
can do the show there.
Do you know David Barrick?
No.
Do you know who David Barrick is?
I do not. Who is David Barrick?
Well, he sits on the Police Services Board. He's an elected regional politician from Port Colborne.
I'm basically a criminal. We should keep him away from me.
He's criminally handsome.
There you go.
No, I don't know. He's a politician. And I don't know David. I've never spoken to the man. But I seem to be drawn to the lightning rods. And politically, I mean. Sandy Nunziata is on after that. I was going to do this at the end of the show, but it's a perfect segue. Thank you, Sarah. Monday, April 9th. Savvy Networker, Johnny Rocco's, 7 p.m. There is an open bar, or a cash bar.
Cash bar.
The bar is open for you to give them your cash. So David Barrick's coming in Monday, April 9th, this Monday. It's Friday already, man. Where did my week go? Roadways came in here. I took this. All this stuff came out last night. This desk, everything, and
that's a lot of work.
I mean, I treated this to sound well. It's not supposed to look like I really don't care about the look. Well, I do actually care about the look.
It looks very blue.
It was designed to sound well because I'm more concerned about that. But so I can't believe it's Friday already, and 3:40. It's the weekend.
It's 3:40.
3:40. Yeah, we've gone for an hour and 45 minutes already. So Barrick is in. Check out Sarah's Savvy Networker, Johnny Rocco, 7 o'clock on
And you can
Monday.
buy this page.
Yeah, you can buy this page. Sarah's going to sign it.
We're going to have it up for auction.
I'm going to buy that page. 1 o'clock Monday, David Barrick comes in. This is a really cool conversation. I don't want to say it's a cool conversation because you might think it sucks, but I'm having Pastor Bill Markham from Central Community Church come in. I got him for about an hour and a half on Wednesday. So next week I get a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday, and they're all at 1 o'clock. So Monday, Barrick. Wednesday, Bill Markham. We're doing All God Radio. And then Thursday at 1 o'clock, Sandy Annunziata, who is a former pro football player. He is an elected regional councilor. He is also the chair of the NPCA, Lightning Rod. That's where that comes from. And he is a guy that bills for mileage when he drives to Toronto to be on CFRB 1010 radio. Makes the taxpayer pay for it. Way to go, Sandy! I'm in your back corner for... we went to the same high school. We were never friends. So Sandy Annunziata is kind of a political lightning rod. And so he'll be in on Thursday the 12th at 1 o'clock. And then July 18th, we got Mayor Jim Diodati coming on. We'll have him for an hour and a half, and we'll talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about with him. So
you guys can do the Wreck-It Journal.
Wreck This Journal. Oh, this. Okay, so give me the concept of this Wreck This Journal. It's instructions, so you just go through it and do what it tells you to do?
All you do is you just open the page. Yeah, so this one says stick a photo here. Glue in a photo of yourself you dislike.
Oh.
Make a mess and clean it up.
I'm going to do that right now.
Make a paper chain.
Huh.
Doodle over top of this page.
Sell this page.
Yeah, we're going to sell that for lots of money.
Sell this page. Okay, Sarah, love you. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate it. I will find an excuse to not be there on Monday.
You will be there.
And you have to sign this, and then we'll hit the record button that says off. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.